Friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to the Friendoville channel. It's time for the second to last Picard review, episode 9. It's actually the first of a two-part finale. What was this one called? It was something in Latin. Et in Arcadia ego, something of the mind, I would think. I didn't look up what that means in Latin.
I did not either.
What is the translation? Here we go. It means, and in Arcadia, I am, or am I. Even in Arcadia, there am I. I refers to death, and Arcadia means utopian land. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So, yeah, it's relating death and utopia, which obviously is the theme of this episode, because whatever this synth race is that is lurking on the horizon, waiting for the call to basically put all the organics down like a dog. They're waiting, and these synths on Capelia, whatever that planet's name is, they're ready to pull the trigger. Tim, what do you think about this episode?
So this is another one where it was really, really rushed, and it took something from it. And again, I watched two different times. I watched one time when I'm doing something, unfortunately, because of how busy I'm. I'm one of the few people that are still actually working because people need internet, and I install internet. So the first time I didn't catch that the secondary version, Twins of Daj, wasn't like the gold version of Daj was the actual. The twin got killed in front of Rios. I didn't catch it the first time. I'm like, I wish they would have put that in there. And then when I watched it with Alyssa today, like I read, we read Twitter and we have our chat, and I picked up on a few other small things but it was just a glanced over moment. And there's so many things that are like that are in here that are just glance over moments. And so I wish this again could have been 12, 13 episodes long of a season. And all that aside, though, it really was just all plot going forward to the end. It's just building to the finale. So
yeah, I didn't personally feel it was all that as rushed as you might have taken it. I thought that there were it didn't feel like the most even episode in the world. That being said, I'm not really sure how else I would have played it. I mean, they had to get to the synth world. I think if I had any complaint about the show at all, it would have been the interaction. I felt that that Brent Spiner's Dr. Soong character felt a little off. Like,
I think it's meant to be.
Okay.
We'll get into it.
We'll just get into it then. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
So we open up with the La Serena going through the warp conduit, is it? So the conduit is the thing. Is the conduit the thing? The whole tube?
Yeah.
Thing? Okay. Yeah. So they're going through the warp conduit. The node is where they go through. Okay. So they go into the node, then they're in the conduit. And it's like massive turbulence. Girardi is literally like under a desk somewhere. She's freaking out. She doesn't even know they're going to this planet, by the way. But they get there. They get to Capelius. They come out of the node, and they get to Capelius. Not long after that, though, Narek shows up.
Okay.
He's been.
Can I do this really? I want to do this part. Imagine a 13-year-old Trek fan saying they get to Capelius, and then Narek comes out, and they start shooting at him, and then they think they disabled Narek, and then he ends up using the cloaking device, and it really tricks him into thinking, and then all of a sudden they're about ready to shoot at each other, and then guess what happens next? The giant Borg cube comes out of the conduit, and it's like, like an Inception, and then all of a sudden when all of a sudden you see these orchids fly up from the planet, and it grabs onto the ships, and it pulls them down. That's what the whole entrance was like. It was like a teenager wrote this, and you're just like, whoa, there's a ton going on. And I was just like, everybody's like, what are those things? Oh, they look like giant flowers. Oh, yeah, flowers that can breathe in space. It's Star Trek. Don't worry about it. MacGuffin.
That's a freaking cool teenager you're talking about there. Well, whatever teenager wrote that, man, they got an active imagination. You didn't like this? I thought this was rad. I thought it was cool.
It was interesting, but it felt like it was written by a J.J. Abrams, or not J.J. Abrams, Michael Bay almost-esque.
Oh, I liked it. It was good action. I thought it was good action. There was a couple of big beats. So like they come through, Narek comes through, he's shooting at them. I thought this was a really I don't know. I like the updated sort of graphics in this sort of situation where they can show cool space battles, because it sort of took the space battle that we know in Star Trek, which was a lot more strategic than, let's say, like Star Wars, which is just like Star Wars is basically like old, like, like World War II planes fighting each other.
Well,
that's what they're
Lucas
based
took
off
it
of.
off. Yeah. Lucas took it scene for scene off of World War II dogfights.
Yeah, exactly. So, dog fights, right? Is that what they call them? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but this in Star Trek, traditionally, it's always been a lot more strategic. It's like, you got one ship here, you got one ship here, and then this one might go here, this one might go here, this one might go here. And it sort of mimicked that. Like, yes, there was some, but there was also the bit where, what's-his-face, Rios, like, pulled back all the way over here. And so there was still the strategy involved, and then Narek did his strategy of having his engines and his cloaking device glitch out and play dead, and they sort of had a little mini moment to confer, oh, we have to save him, and Soji's like, no, we should let him die. And then it was like, oh, no, never mind, Narek is fine.
Isn't that called like the Picard maneuver or Riker maneuver? One of them where you cast a version of yourself? Isn't that...
So that's when you jump into warp, and so it looks like there's two of them. I didn't recall there actually being two of the La Serenas in this, though.
Not the La Serenas, but I'm saying that's what Narek did. Narek used his cloaking device to cast a shadow version of himself.
Did he do that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it was cool, whatever it was. And then the Borg cube comes through, and it's just given all the grandeur of like a giant cube coming. I don't know how you can not like this. This is great, man.
It was good. It was a lot, man. It was just like, holy God. It was.
Are
just
you
like,
going stir crazy or something because of this virus thing? I feel like you're kind of grumpy.
No, I think it's no. I think it's so. Another thing about this episode is we talked about this a little bit again in chat. Is that this felt like the most Star Trek-esque episode, but like the movies. It felt like Nemesis. It felt like Insurrection.
I agree. I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah, so there was a lot going on, and they're throwing a lot at it towards the end here. And not saying it takes it away, but, the episodes were a little bit more paced out, a little bit slower, had more of a deeper story to tell, but they were smaller stories where you have a lot, building up in this. And this was a lot of space stuff right at the beginning. It was very concentrate.
Yeah, I was fine with that. I do agree that it was a bit like too plotty, if you will. Like there were just a lot of little twists and turns that seemed maybe unnecessary. But in any event, there's also a lot of clarification going on. But before we get to all that, the Borg cube comes out and they're all sort of fighting, and then all of a sudden it's all interrupted by some giant 5 space orchids come and intercept everything, and they just sort of envelop the La Serena,
latch on to the corner of the cube, and then
they
the
bring them everything down to the planet. And once you're in the orchid, your power goes out, and then as it's bringing it down into the atmosphere, you can sort of tell because like there's like a bunch of flamey type stuff, and then Picard passes out. He says something like I forget what he says. He says something like it's sort of out of nowhere.
Yeah, I kind of want to welcome you or something like that.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah,
and I thought it was weird because I thought he was getting taken over by sometimes sentient beings will talk to somebody, and I'm like, is he talking to somebody? No, he just passes out, and everybody's all worried about him because he's, old and has a sickness, and then he's unconscious, and that's kind of where we end. The orchids burn up in the atmosphere too, from what we can tell, and they're out of power, and that's kind of. Yeah, and then we go to Picard kind of dreaming and having visions of a flashback of him being sick.
Like you said, he's got flashbacks of earlier in the series, him talking about being sick and stuff. But he wakes up eventually, and the ship he's with Jurati. She's sort of looking over him. She has like an old school tricorder, which is kind of cool. And the ship's power is down, but they've safely landed the ship. I mean, crashed, but it's landed. And then, and she's like, we thought that it was, you hit your head or something, but no, you went out. And, she said, she didn't say anything about it, but he was like, okay, what are you getting at here? She was like, it's probably just an old tricorder. And he's like, I suspect the tricorder is just fine. So he knows, and she knows, and he knows that she knows, and she knows that he knows. So there's not really a lot to be said because she starts to cry. That then allows, Picard, he goes to the crew and he says, so here's the deal. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go and check out the situation. But also, I've got a terminal brain condition, and that means I'm going to die. But if anybody here treats me any different, I'm going to be upset. And everybody sort of accepts it. Rafi is obviously the one who, as always, is the most openly emotional about it. But even she just doesn't say anything for now.
Yeah, she kind of almost gasps a little bit and you could see her getting teary-eyed.
This is some of these moments are where Rafi really stands out the most, as opposed to your are you out of your damn mind moments. These moments, I think, really capture why they cast her.
You know what other moments I love with Rafi is, and I'm really becoming a fan of hers, is, in fact, I mean, dude, I love the entire crew. They did a killer job casting these people. Allison Pill is just so good. But I like the battle scenes with Rafi because she's reacting a lot more like I feel like a normal person would. Like in Star Trek, it's very much like, even like Wesley, who is like 15 years old or whatever, in battle scenes, he's like, oh, we've got a couple of these guys. And Rafi's like, okay, hold on, we got one. No, wait, 5. I don't know. They're like flowers or something. Yeah. She comes off as just, she is like the proxy kind of for us. Like a lot of this stuff would feel overwhelming, and she comes off as in control, but like at the limit. And I feel like that's how a lot of us actually would be. And that's what I really like about her character. She's kind of our proxy.
Oh, one more thing to backtrack. One more cameo. They had seatbelts come down. When they said everybody strap in, they're going into the Earth atmosphere. They had seatbelts come down. When was the first time we've seen seatbelts in Trek?
Nemesis.
It was a deleted scene from Nemesis.
That wasn't wasn't actually in the movie. That was just deleted.
So they might have actually had it, but there's a scene. There's a deleted scene where Riker's
right. It's when he meets his first officer, huh?
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, I'm glad we finally have these."
That's a delete. You're right. I think you're right. I think that's a deleted scene. That's funny. I think didn't they do it in Voyager also?
They probably did, but this is the first time where they kind of made it pretty obvious. I mean, what's going on?
So I'm probably going to regret this. But I just brought up Voyager. When we're done with Picard, I can't say I'm going to do this every Friday, but maybe we can bulk review it. Would you be interested in continuing our reviews, but with Voyager?
Perfect. I was going to say Firefly, if I'm pushing enough for that, but I'll do Voyager.
That's not going to happen. This is the Four Lights of Star Trek podcast. It's not going to happen. But if you'd be interested, we can figure out a schedule that works for Voyager reviews, because I want to get Next Generation done with Jeff, and I was looking forward to doing Deep Space Nine with Jeff, if that ever happens. So I'm going to keep those ones open. But Voyager, I haven't seen a lot of Voyager, so I don't know a lot about it.
Really? Ooh,
well, I've seen like season 4 through 7. I think I've seen all of that. The first couple seasons, man, it's so hard to get through some of that stuff.
It's pretty rough. So yeah, we can like get some of these done in like 20 minutes or 30 minutes. We're like, oh, this happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so continuing on. Picard gives his little speech. Picard gives a couple speeches in this episode. So yeah, they decide to go to the Borg cube first.
Well, they were like, well, we could go to your hometown, Soji, but we want to go to the Borg cube because we have friends there. And then the doctor was like, hey, do you want to split up? And they're like, no, let's not split up. And then they all decide to get their backpacks and head to the cube.
Wise move. They get to the cube, and the XBs are just rolling around, and they're like, they're trying to get the ship fixed, and because they're like, man, that thing had to have broken. It's too big. Like on impact, it would have but it was fine for the most part. So they're busy trying to get stuff together. Elnor shows up. He gives Picard a big hug. Seven shows up, and she's honestly just the most badass person. They frame her in like the most badass way, and I guarantee we're going to see her show up in the next episode. And I swear to God, they need to give Seven her own series, because I think that she is the Captain Pike of this series.
Totally.
Because everybody was pining for a Captain Pike series after this, and I think everybody's going to want a Seven series after this.
Man, they're setting the groundwork for Trek for years to come with this show, and it needs to happen, because I mean, we had DS9 and Voyager going on at the same time. Here you can do a Captain Pike, and you can do a 7 of 9 or Rangers-esque series, from here on out. So
absolutely,
yeah.
So continuing on, they get to the cube, and Picard's like, "Wait a second, you've got this ship is operational." She's like, "Yeah, what do you need?" And he's like, "We need long range scanners, is what we need." And then we see, I think, right after
one of the XBs call him the cutest, and it kind of throws him off. He's just like, whoa. He took a step back, and I thought that was really. He's still not over it. I mean, that's something that's that terrible. But yeah, that's just a small detail.
It'd be great if he just said, "Would you stop calling me that?" Not proud of those.
You call me the cutest one more time.
Not proud of that time in my life. Anyways, let's see here. Yeah, they're all. Blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah. So then Rafi and Rios, they turn on those long-range scanners, and they see that 218 Romulan warbirds are on the way. So at that point, they decide we're going to go see if we can get to Soji's hometown and maybe hook up some of them orchids that we saw before. Maybe they've got 218 of them. We find out that's not the case. But Picard and his crew say goodbye to Seven and Elnor. This is a really sweet moment. He basically says, hey, Elnor, you need to stay with the cube. And Elnor's like, I'm sort of torn. And Picard's like, well, no, you're not. You're going to stay here. You're going to help out the XBs. They really need you. And he, in a very heartfelt way, he says, I am so proud of you. And Elnor gives him a hug. And that's just a really great moment.
Yeah, I have a feeling this will be the last time. I don't know if they'll meet in the future. I think something's going to happen to Picard, or something's going to happen to where Elnor and Seven are going to do their own series, and Picard's going to be doing something else. This will probably be the last time they meet.
Probably not, because Elnor is going to be in season 2. I can guarantee it.
You really think so?
Crew, man. He's part of the crew. He's definitely going to be.
He was part of the crew for like 3 episodes, and then he dipped.
Number one, it's not like they're in the middle of filming this thing and they're like, hey, I've got it. Episode 10 is we got to write episode 10. What if we do a spinoff with these? It doesn't work that way, man. They're going to come in, they're going to help him, and everything's going to be great.
They had plans with Seven from the beginning, just like I feel like they had plans for Pike from the beginning.
They probably did, but Elnor's not going to tag along with her. He's going to be on the Picard show.
We'll see. One of these days, one of my crazy conspiracy theories will come true. Like, aha, one happened.
We're going to start writing these down, man, because last I checked, Dodge is still dead.
We'll see.
And so is Hugh, which bugged me. I thought that Hugh might have lived.
Hugh might have. You would think with nanites and the way the Borg kind of healed things. But
yeah, okay, but hold on. Later on, we do have... Hold on a second. I'll write it here in the notes. We'll have a power rank as to which of these dead characters might have a way to come back. Well, don't talk about it right now. We'll talk about it in a couple paragraphs. So anyways, and then Seven says, keep on saving the galaxy, Picard, and he says, that's in your hands now. Oh, that was great. That's the spin-off show right there, man. That's a spin-off show. But at the very least, she's gonna be heavy in the next episode, in the finale. So anyways, they arrive at the Synth Settlement, and this is where it started to become just in atmosphere a bit more like Insurrection, or even the season 1 episode where it was like half naked people having sex a lot, because all these androids, all these synths were dressed up in like I'm gonna say the bare minimum of clothes, but certainly they
pretty either monk robes or just bottom halves, or just like, oh, I'm just gonna partially cover my nipular area unless I'm a guy, and then I'm gonna wear these baggy shorts.
Yeah, and then they're all in pairs.
They're all twins.
Yeah, some of them look like you and me sometimes. Some of them look like normal people. Some of them look like Data. Like there's various, like some of them are like seemingly earlier versions. And
that's kind of what I took too.
Mm-hmm. Like the first person we meet, who's obviously a community leader, which means she's probably a bit on the older side, which could explain why she has Data-esque features, is this lady named Arcana. And so she shows up. And she's like, she knows who Picard is. She touches the creases in his face, the old man wrinkles, and she's like, "Oh, there's so much going on here." And all I can think to myself is, "You're not supposed to be touching people's faces, okay? We're living in a new time right now. No touching."
No.
Did you ever see the movie Hook with Robin Williams?
Oddly, no, I didn't.
Oh, okay. So there's a scene where obviously Robin Williams is Peter Pan. He leaves and comes back as a Robin Williams. Peter Pan turns into Robin Williams. It's weird. But then one of the little kids is sitting there, is like scrunching his face, and he pulls back. He's like, "Oh, it's you, Peter," because he can move the wrinkles out. And that's all I could think of is he's like, "Oh, it's you, Picard." Yeah, it was kind of touching, because like your story, every single crease, every single wrinkle tells a story. And it was kind of a touching moment, and you can tell that every single one of them have this somewhat kinship, some way, somehow, to Picard.
Yeah. So Soji sort of breaks it down. She's like, hey, everybody, the Romulans are coming. And then the first appearance of Dr. Alton Soong, who is Data's dad's son. He said, my dad created Data, but he made me, and he never let me forget about it. And it was Brent Spiner. And he was like, I'm sure this looks strange to you, Picard. And he's like, it's like looking at Data. He's like, yeah, Data got old and soft. I just, the relationship, I would have thought, I'll put it this way, I think this is it. I would have thought that Picard, given that he never met Soong, but he knew of Data's interactions with him. Wait, did they meet Soong on his deathbed?
They may have. I know Data did.
At the end of that episode where it was Data, Lore, and Soong, I think it was Riker who met Soong.
Yeah.
Because they came down to, like, get Data or something.
And you also got to remember, his wife died. I mean, don't get me wrong, Soong could have had another kid, but remember, his wife was an android, too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I'm sure somebody in chat will remember exactly who met him. But, yeah, but still, I would have thought that Picard would have had a lot more, like, holy crap, I've got so much to ask you right now.
Yep.
And there would have been more of a one-on-one. I think that's sort of what was lacking, is more of a connection, a one-on-one connection. Now, so we've introduced him as Brent Spiner's back for this character, Dr. Soong. You said you had some sort of idea. He seemed a little off. Do you think he's an android?
W.S. Fletcher, thank you. Riker and Worf met Soong.
Okay, that's what I thought, yeah.
So, I really think it's probably Lore. Because he's the only one that shows emotions. Imagine he wanted to say, "Oh yeah, I'm an older version," so Lore could go in and age himself up and be like, "Hey," because especially towards the end, he's pushing. He's like, "I want to save my children," and that's kind of the way he acted the last time we saw him in that last episode with the XBs. If they pull this out of the hat and it's really Lore being devious, it really wouldn't surprise me any. As opposed to because. Soong having a son has not been mentioned anywhere else. Alyssa and me spent the breakfast hour, we were rewatching at the table, and we got on a Memory Alpha and everything else. There was no mention of an actual son.
Yeah.
So something's a little amiss, and especially the way he acts and some of the little quirks, just a little too much like Lore for my.
He didn't have much. He did not have much issue with being like, yeah, let's just kill all the organics. That's totally cool. Later on in the episode. So would it be Lore? They haven't had, they were totally fine with reintroducing Hugh. It's definitely a possibility. Something's going to happen with him and this freaking body with the mind transfer stuff. That was obvious. Something's happening there.
Alyssa has an idea. I don't want to spoil it because it's pretty big if it happens.
Okay, well, let's talk about it after this next paragraph, because that's when we're going to be talking about the body. Is it that's what it's about, the mind transfer stuff?
Yes. Okay.
So after that, sort of a Data-esque version of Soji, whose name is Sutra, introduces herself to Picard. She's the sister of Gianna. Rios is like, dude, that's totally, it's Gianna. And when they all gather a little bit later.
And Soong's like, no, it's her sister. Because remember, everybody has a twin.
Yeah. And she's a very confident, self-assured version. Like, she's almost in a much more gentle, non-obvious way. She has the confidence of a Lore. And we find out later on that she is a schemer like Lore.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, maybe she had some training from him. Maybe that's the case. Maybe Dr. Soong is actually Lore. I don't know. So they kind of give Girardi some static for killing Bruce Maddox, which they would. He was their dad, basically.
Yeah.
And then Sutra kind of mentions the admonition. Admonition. And says it's possible that, Girardi, this wasn't your fault, that the Romulans basically put this in your mind because they've been slowly driven crazy by the admonition because it wasn't meant for their minds. I like this idea a lot. I love the idea that
I do too.
It's like the Romulans intercepting a coded message that they don't quite have the right code for, and so they're getting the wrong message, even though they're kind of right about the message in the end. And so using Vulcan Mind Meld,
which I didn't like,
which evidently anybody can do.
I think it's. I mean, being a superior being, it kind of makes sense. And then Spinners in the background or Sung's in the background going, "Oh yeah, she loves Vulcans and Romulans and stuff, and she knows how to do all the stuff they know how to do." I'm like, okay, it's kind of a MacGuffin way of saying, "Oh yeah, this is how the information gets passed along."
Okay. I feel you on that one. I was willing to roll with it though, because I was just
it was a grasp at a straw, and you just keep on rolling with it.
I was really interested in what the admonition thing really was. And,
it was interesting.
It was interesting, and some of they were doing a lot of edits here, and some of the footage was kind of silly because it was obvious like stock footage.
The Fox decaying is definitely stock footage. Yeah.
Like why? Okay, why would the Martian attack be like the same? None of the shots that we've already seen should have been included in the admonition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I get that it was a forewarning, but I don't know. It was like really the Martian. Like how would they know the exact shot that we saw before? It seemed cheap. Anyways, that's a stupid point. So the admonition was basically. It was not necessarily a warning, but it was reaching out to synths, because it was for synths, saying, once you achieve a certain level, we will be around because you will be oppressed by your organic creators. That will happen, and we're here. We've been around for ages, and we're going to help you out. I kind of wonder if there is, number one, why the Borg and all their experience, why have they not come across this superior synth race? Is this race related to the Borg? Are they a higher form of Borg?
The other thing I was thinking about too is that what if the Borg were created as like a way to gather, because Borg are there to assimilate all organic life and knowledge. What if the Borg are there as the feelers to gather all the knowledge from organic life, and then once organic life has reached its pinnacle, it wipes it, and then they store the knowledge from the Borg?
I get the feeling like I feel like if we had a couple more episodes left, if they had structured this a little bit different, I might have gotten the idea that we would get that total answer. I mean, look, the scenes that they showed in the trailer for next week, just like they did with this one, are from obviously very early in the episode. I think the Romulans are going to show up pretty early in the episode next week, and then they're going to pull the trigger on sending out the signal, and we're going to find out what this synth race is. And then I assume Picard subspace message is going to get to Starfleet. They're probably going to come out. So it's just going to be this huge giant thing that happens. And so I think we're going to find this out.
You know what it's going to be? They come down and this huge giant thing comes down, and it opens up to see this huge light. This entity comes down. And it's Q going, "Hi, Picard."
I hope not. It better not be. I know. I've seen that on Reddit. That'd be so bad.
That would be bad. But unless Q saved him from everything, he goes, "Well."
I do not want Q anywhere near this episode. I'm totally fine Q in season 2. I don't want Q anywhere near this episode because it just hasn't.
That's good to know.
It would be the biggest like bailout ever.
Yeah. Q is your trump card. It's your get out of jail free card, which they can.
And I don't want that. I hate when. Yeah, I'm not huge on that. Okay. So I do think that because you just said it exactly. Like it could be that the Borg, they're out there assimilating. It could be that their information gathering program, the Borg, just got out of hand, or it could be that the Borg were out there as sort of, like you said, sort of the test balloon, if you will. It's like, hey, organics, this is what you're going to get if you cross a certain line with synthetic life, and it ain't pretty. And this is not even the tip of it. We have a lot stronger forces than even them, and you could barely handle them. So it'll be interesting to see next week who the synth race is, if they show themselves. I have a feeling they're going to, unless they keep them for a bigger deal, like in season 3 or something. I don't know. In any event, that was the admonition. It was, hey, we're out here, we're watching. If you need us, let us know. After that, Girardi speaks with Sung. He has made butterflies. He said, "I miss butterflies, so I made some." And then he sort of gives her shit about killing Bruce Maddox. He's like, you extinguished this bright light and you farted off into darkness, and it sucks. And I liked Bruce a lot. And then she looks down, and there's like a body chilling in a thing.
Yeah,
and he's
it's a blank body. They call him a golem.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is
like a clay body, which is a lot of mythological terms in the whole entire series. But yeah, it's a blank slate. It's a blank human body. And so we said, well, she's like, well, why don't you help me make life? What about catching memories? And so they'd kind of hint at recreating Maddox, right? Saying, hey, maybe you can come back and create. My wife, on the other hand, has, and the mad scientist that she is, she's a genius, is that what if something does happen to Picard, but they capture all of his memories and they use that body for Picard?
Yeah, so now we can power rank who is going to use this body. Now we're doing this podcast live on YouTube, and there's already been some ideas here, including the one that you just mentioned. You know, Picard, they've been very obvious. They've been very upfront. Picard's brain is on the malfunction. He's going to die from this. Mind transfer, Picard. This has got to be number one, right? Mind transfer Picard.
Yeah.
Picard's
into
number one.
This brain, but not necessarily the body, right? Unless you can fashion the body to be exactly like Picard's.
Well, I think once the brain gets...
why wouldn't he just make it a younger body?
Yeah. They get what's his face back from Nemesis. Tom Hardy back.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Now he's all jacked.
That'd be weird.
He was so small in that movie. I was thinking, I was like, how great would it have been if Girardi was like, well, we've got Maddox on ice. Maybe we can like revive his brain and like plug it into this thing, and so you get Maddox back. Maybe you can get Maddox back.
Or what if they did like an old man but a real version of Data? An organic version of Data. By the way, that's not my idea. That's W.S. Fletcher's.
That's a really good one too. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be.
Wayne just said no. It is Tom Hardy. It's not Picard and nobody else. They bring back Tom Hardy.
They actually bring back the actor Tom Hardy. He's like, oh, it's in Hollywood. So let's see here. Dr. Lipkin also says, I think the body is going to be proposed as a way to save Picard, but Girardi is going to sacrifice herself to save Soji, and then Picard will give up his chance to transfer Girardi. Oh, that's a good one. I like that's good. Yeah. That's actually pretty well thought out right there. I like this too. Wayne mentions, he says, talking about the alien race, the synth race, he's like, maybe it's the people that created V'ger. From what I understand, V'ger, I thought about the V'ger idea too. V'ger, I think, was just like our computer that just grew so much and it turned into a sentient being. That being said, what if V'ger spawned another V'ger out there, and then that's part, but it's also an ages old thing. So I don't know.
Yeah. So now that we for those of you so in between, so those who have or haven't seen Discovery, it gets on the topic of the space between universes, because they have the inverse universe and our universe, and there are spaces between universes, right? And I have a feeling that this race lives in the space between universes. So whenever we do see them, like I said, it could be, that's where I think also where the Q realm is, or the Q realm could be above all that too. But there are nooks and crannies of the universe which I like exploring, because we think everything three-dimensionally, and then once you start involving time and outside of universes, you need to think fourth-dimensionally, which is just starts to melt your brain. So yeah, one of 1,000 other things. But for the body, we're talking Picard, Maddox, Girardi, Data. Who else? Let's get one more.
Let's see here. Brigadoon says part of the plot in Star Trek Motion Picture was that V'ger encountered something. So that could be. That could totally be. Even if it's like a little Easter egg, like a little throwaway reference, that could be cool. I'm interested to see what it's going to be. It collided with another. Okay, there you go. Oh yeah, Nick Wolf brings up a really good point. What if it's Control from Discovery? Because these things, a lot of people are saying that they are going to start shared universing this whole thing, which of course it is, but making more direct comparisons. I mean, now Discovery, spoiler alert, is way in the future, so it would not surprise me at all.
So they took Control and sent it to the future. So what you're saying, that is Control in the future got outside of space, and then they're like, hey, we can save you?
I don't know, but I know that Discovery is... I'm just talking about the whole idea of like making more direct connections between the series. Discovery is like now set... I think they were thrown like 900 years into the future, and so it wouldn't surprise me if some of what's happening right now in Picard might affect what Discovery will discover in the upcoming season. That'd be interesting if they started going down that route. But anyways, yeah, so we have all the obvious answers. I think the most obvious one has to be Picard's busted brain is going to mind transfer into a brain that's just fine, and they'll put it into his body or give him like a superstar. Just recast Picard. Why not?
You can't
let Patrick Stewart go, man.
No. We were talking about like somebody was like mentioning like getting a bunch of just old timers that have never been in Trek either. Somebody said imagine Patrick Stewart and like Sean Connery like together doing Space, the Final Frontier.
Anyways, Sutra then tries to convince Soji to use that signal because they had figured out how to use the signal to bring out those synths. She's like, hey, let's do this, man. It's us against the world, right? Meanwhile, Rios and Jurati talk, and they have a little moment. Jurati's like, I'm going to stay here and help these guys for now. And Rios is going to go get the ship running. And she's like, well, make sure you come back and get me. Don't forget about me. He's like, you are not forgettable. And, you know, with his swooning eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. They probably didn't use that right. Anyways, Arcana gives Rafi, this is totally a MacGuffin right here. She gives Rafi a fixing doodad thing. And Rafi's like, what am I supposed to do with this? And she's like, you can fix stuff with it. And she's like, how? She's like, I don't know. We're going to write that later.
No. She's like, imagination. Like, she said, use your imagination. What? I mean, so is orchids in space, but still.
This is like the most like shoehorned, you know, device. Oh, we can't get the ship up and running. All right, cool. We got this thing. Here we go. It's going to work now. That's exactly how it's going to go. That's exactly how it's going to go. A bit on the silly side.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's one. Here's the thing, though. Like, Trek is usually really good. And I know, look, it can either be like in early episodes, or they did this all the time in Next Generation, Data with his really fast hands.
Oh, yeah.
It could be Wesley with him figuring stuff out with his school projects that then save the Enterprise. But they usually have a decent way of like writing it into the episode before it's used. This was just, we're going to need Rios to get out of a tight spot later.
It was the blue remote control from Click mixed with a weird alien. It was like, yeah.
That's exactly
terrible.
what it was, yeah. That was funny. And it was such a throwaway moment that like in the next episode, we're going to be like, okay, there they are. Okay, which moment are they going to need this thing? It was so...
It's totally, it's Chekhov's gun for sure. Like it's meant to be, we're going to need this in the future, but don't just ignore how it happens. It's just like, that reminds me in A Voyage Home. It was such a throwaway line, but Bones gives a woman a pill and she's like, this doctor gave me a pill and I grew a kidney.
Mm-hmm. I know. It was really silly. So anyways, after that, this was a really nice moment. Picard and Rafi, they have a moment. She's like, look, man, I know what you said back there, but nobody's around right now. She's like, she gives him a big hug and she says, I love you. And then she says, you don't have to say it back. It's okay. And he's like, I don't.
I think she almost let it slip. I think she was like,
yeah. And so he's like, I don't. Okay. And then he starts to walk a little bit and he turns around and he's like, I love you too, Rafi. And then he immediately turns around and she's like, this is Picard. Picard doesn't say that to anybody. And then he walks off and Rios says, Girardi's going to have a sleepover. And Picard just like waves his hand and like walks past him. He's like completely awkward. He did not enjoy saying that, but he understood that Rafi deserved this. Rafi is the kind of person... Yeah. She needs this kind of stuff in her life to function as an adult. And like a lot of us do. And that's why I love Rafi, because a lot of us are that way, man. And when, again, and this is the thing about Rafi. When he tells her, he's telling us because she is us.
Yeah. So the question is that if Rafi and Picard were younger, would they be an item?
Okay, you said something really weird in chat because somebody said, were they going to hook up? And then you said, no, but if they were aged similarly, they would. It's more like a father-daughter thing.
But their actual
feel like it's not one or the other. I think that it's like either one or the other, man.
No, I think right now it's a father-daughter, right? It's that, you know. But if they were younger, there's a chance.
I don't think so because Picard's a career man. Picard only dealt with like one night stands, like Dirty Vash. Like, it was like only people who like really had to convince him to have sex with them. And then there was the one lady, the commander on the Enterprise. What he really fell for her, but then within the span of an episode, like 2 days, he was like, "No, I can't do this. I can't." There wasn't even a thought in his mind. He was like, "I had a really hard time with you being down there in trouble and how to deal with being a commander. So I'm going to transfer you off my ship."
The only other woman that he really got into ended up leaving him for Q. So you're just
I know exactly. So, dude, no, I think that it was totally, you had it right when you said it was more of a father-daughter relationship. It was a mentor-protege relationship that was a bit deeper than that. But like I said, you know, Rafi is us, and he was telling us, "I love you, Steve and Tim." Anyways, so yeah, no, I like Rios' throwaway line. "Hey, Girardi's having a sleepover." That made me laugh. Yeah. I love Rios. Anyways, after that, Picard is trying to reach Starfleet Command, and basically he gets his message out. He's like, they don't respond, and he ends the message in frustration, but he said everything he needed to say for the cavalry to arrive.
I think it was an issue with the signal going out, or it's not signal going out, but signal coming in. Well, because they could probably send out, but they probably don't want, they're trying to block everything as much as they can, you know, figuring out where they are.
Yeah. So then like Soji shows up, but meanwhile Narek is like scheming to get out of his little jail cell.
Oh, we didn't talk about Narek getting captured.
Oh yeah, earlier on, that's right. Yeah, it was a really quick thing. Narek got captured.
Narek got captured, and two of the twins that are the pointy nose looking guys are dragging him in, and he's like, "I told you I'd come peacefully," and he's kicking and screaming, and then they end up throwing him kind of in jail. They don't really have a jail. They've never had prisoners before, so they had to like make kind of like this quick makeshift jail.
Yeah, so he's in there, and he's like trying to convince Arcana to get him some water. He's like, "I'm so thirsty," and she's like, "If how do the Romulans treat their prisoners? Would they give them water?" He's like, "Okay, let's change the subject." That was a pretty clever thing.
"My throat is parched. Will you help me?" And she's like, "Well, I want to treat you like you treat your prisoners." That's how I took it.
Yeah. So he's like, you know, trying to say, "Hey, I need water," but Soji comes up and she's like, "No, you're not going to do that." And they have their little moment where he's like, "I love you," and she's like, "Well, you tried to kill me," and he's like, "Oh, I love you still," and "I thought you were going to kill me," and blah blah blah. So anyway, she's like, "I just feel bad that I want to kill you."
No, I think it's not feel bad that I want to kill you. She's like, I think it was more, I feel bad that I have any feelings towards you, any sort of sympathy at all.
Yeah, she's like, I feel bad that I want to kill you. She doesn't like
okay.
that she feels bad.
The double negative stuff is always
a double negative, exactly. Yeah, sorry. Because I know sometimes I stutter. So anyways, back Soji goes to talk to Picard, and she's like sort of trying to sort out how she feels about the pulling the trigger on the synth signal. And she's like, you know, "Picard, explained to me the logic of a sacrifice." And he's like, "I don't really like the premise of your suggestion. You know, there's really no logic in the sacrifice, but it depends on who's holding the knife." And then he sort of comes around. He's like, whoa, what are you talking about? What are we talking about doing here? We get to that in a second. Sutra, meanwhile, comes up, and she basically lets Narek escape because she knows that doing that, and especially if she sacrifices Arcana in the process, which is what happens because Narek does escape, and he does it by killing Arcana, probably with help from Soji. What?
I really don't think that Narek killed her. I think it was...
Oh, Sutra. Okay,
I think, I don't think Narek killed her. Okay. I really don't.
So, in any event, he gets away. Arcana's dead, but you're right. It all falls on Sutra, regardless of who actually stabbed Arcana, and it could very well have been Sutra. That allows her to rally the troops and say, "Hey, one of ours is dead. Narek is gone. We got the signal. Let's just call up these synths and let's get out of here. Let's have. They're going to come and protect us."
Because there's 218 ships about ready to come rain hell on us, and
And Picard's like, whoa, wait a second. No, you're going to kill all of us. And the bottom line is Sutra's doing her best to be very manipulative in the situation. And she's like, we got to take care of our own. And you're standing in our way. And he's like, so you're just going to become mass murderers? Soji, you're going to become the destroyer that they keep on talking about. Their prophecy will be fulfilled. You're proving them right. And they're like, yeah, but, we're going to win. So that's okay.
And even still, even if you look at then Sung's character, he's just like, Picard, no, he's like, look at Starfleet. He's like, you can trust us. We wanted to save you. Oh, let me call Starfleet. And then Sung's like, no, look at on Mars. You tried to stand up for it once before. Starfleet said no this time. They're going to say no again. I want to protect my children. Still think he's lore then. That's the other thing. I put the nail in the coffin for me for the lore theory.
It'll be interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised. I hope it is, because I think it'd be a really cool plot twist. Yeah. The flip side of that is it'll be interesting to see from a writing standpoint how willing they are to, and so far I think they've been pretty damn willing, how willing they are to rely on the viewers' knowledge of previous Trek stuff. They have not mentioned lore once in this. They haven't mentioned Data's actual daughter, Lal, once.
Wow.
And I kind of feel like they could go one of two ways. Either they're going to rely on or take for granted, I guess, the idea that we know who lore is. We should totally know who lore is. Or are they thinking that that's going to alienate new viewers? In my opinion, I think it's much cooler to reward the people who were there from the beginning or have watched it endlessly on Netflix or BBC or any of the numerous channels that it's been on, and we'll totally get it. We'll understand. We'll be like, yeah, man, it's lore.
Plus, you can have them go back and watch it because all the Star Trek is already on CBS All Access.
It's right there. And so, no,
we have all the seasons, and like it gets you to go back and watch it. And after Picard ends, I might cancel my CBS All Access subscription because I have no other reason to keep it except for Trek. So when either Discovery Season 3 comes out, or until Pike comes out, or until the Rangers come out, until something else comes out, I don't really have a reason to keep watching it, except for this hook now that they might have in you of more lore. But I can watch it on Netflix and everything else.
So there's some really, really great chats here in the live stream. Brigadoon says, okay, so not saying this was anything, and by the way, I think this is totally something. He says Alton's full name was Alton Indigo Sung, AI Sung. All right, so there's that. That could also be just a Dr. Sung thing. Me and Lacey, we named our kid after a character in one of our favorite movies. So that's not saying much, but it's saying something for sure. Dr. Lipkin here says Dr. Sung, when holding the body of Arcana, was like her beautiful golden eye, and that convinces him that it's totally lore. Dr. Lipkin also says, let's see here. Brigadoon says that speech by Sung was very lore, and I agree with that. Mr. J. Bowden is kind of where I'm coming from. I still don't need I don't see the need for the misdirect with Sung being an android or lore, but you guys have pointed out a lot of reasons why he might be. So, Tim, you might be onto something here, man. You might be onto something.
I'm just saying. And then he also said, though, Sutra's definitely the destroyer, not Soji. So that's a good point, too. That's another really good point.
Yeah. So, anyways, coming down to the end here. Yeah. So Picard's not able to. He's like, and honestly, he makes a really weak argument here. He's like, listen. Let's Starfleet, they'll take care of this, even though they've shown no competence at all throughout this entire series.
They're like, I'll be your advocate. We have a ship that's big enough to get us all out of here.
Yeah, that tiny little Riosa ship. So, yeah, I mean,
they could use a Borg cube too if they really, really wanted.
If the Borg cube was like operational to the point where it could fly away, it's like, yeah, why don't we all just get on the Borg cube and like, yeah, good luck, Romulans. It's a Borg. All of the Romulans. Evidently, they've had they've been able to disable that particular Borg cube when they were assimilated. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, they could just zoom up in the Borg cube and take the node back home. But evidently, they just want to call the synths, and and that's the point. The point that the synths here are making is we don't want to run. If we run now, we're going to keep on running. So like any means of escape that's not going to do it for them. Yep. So
Yeah, they'll be running for the rest of their lives, and they don't want to do it. Well, and they have their infinite lives, in theory.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see here. They end up saying, no, Picard, lock him up. He's done. You're done talking to us.
Yeah, you're a radicalist. Go. You're confined to quarters.
Yeah. Jurati pledges her allegiance to the synths as well. And Picard's like, why are you doing that? But she loves synths, and she feels bad about Maddox. And then we get our last shot, which is a really cool looking shot of Commodore O on the bridge of the head Romulan warbird that is approaching, and her lieutenant says, Commodore or Commander or whoever it is, whatever rank she is, hey, we're 24 hours away from landfall. Yeah. Which I like they still use landfall when they're coming to a planet.
It's like, yeah, we're exactly 7 days away.
Yeah, I know, right? Exactly. They're a day away from being there. So that's plenty of time, seemingly, to send out that signal to the synth race. And there you go. That's the episode of Picard.
I do like the line, though, when they were talking about there's 218 warbirds. And he's like, oh, anything over 109 is too many.
Yeah, well, no, because they had asked earlier, like, how many of those flower things do you have? I forgot to mention this, and she says, well, we have 10 left. We had 15, but then you guys showed up, and now we've got 10. And they're like, she's like, we can make more. And they're like, well, you have 2 days, man. You have 2 days. Didn't work.
Yeah, we can make more in time.
Dr. Lipkin says, where did the Romulans get 218 ships? Why do they need help evacuating? It's been 14 years.
Yeah, because you also got to remember, this is their super secret. This is their Sector 31 sort of a thing. So they're probably not pulling any punches. They're pulling their deep, dark fleet. This is going to be a big push for the Romulan Empire.
Yep, absolutely. Any final thoughts before we head into the last episode of Picard, Tim?
No, I really, like I said, there are some episodes where it needed to breathe a little bit more, but this felt the most like the last couple of movies, of the main series movies, I guess, and I appreciated that, especially like, you met a tribe of people that are all in twos, and some of them are golden, and they wear skimpy clothing, and I appreciated a lot of the little things, and it felt the most, almost like I had a feeling of a warm blanket of that OG Trek. But yet there's so much going on with Picard. It just needs a little bit more room to breathe. Like that Picard wine, man. You gotta let it breathe just a smidgen.
Wayne says, if the golem is for Picard, give him Bernie Sanders' voice. Engage. Somebody raise shields. Anyways, all right. That's it for the show. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Hey, everybody joining us live, thanks so much for hanging out with us. We definitely appreciate it. We'll be back next week. We'll do this live again next week, man. What do you think about that?
Perfect. I'm down, man. Big finale. Let's blow out. I'm going to go get some dragon's milk because I've been missing it. We're gonna drink within reason, and we're going to do it live. Tell your friend, tell your grandma.
With no reason. No reason. Without reason. We're going to drink without reason.
Oh, okay. Wait. There was no F-bombs dropped in this episode, was there?
Apparently not.
Somebody got stabbed in the eye, but that's the worst thing that happened. So this is the episode you can show your grandparents.
Oh, I thought you were talking about this episode of the Four Lights podcast. I was like, hey, good for us. We're monetized.
Oh, we are? Oh, yay. We did get a super chat, and thank you again for Wolf for the super chat, too. That was amazing.
Yeah, thanks so much. We appreciate it. Absolutely.
He can run out and buy some more toilet paper.
That's right. Good stuff. Anyways, thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate it. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.